Hey, Jessica, thank you so much for coming to the Two Girl Podcast.
I am so happy to be here.
I'm so excited to have you on. I was just so impressed by you. We met last year at the Women's Conference, and already in my mind, I was like, oh, I gotta get her for the Two Girl Podcast.
God. When you sent me that message, I was so honored because I've been trying to get the word out on women's health, and nobody seems to want me on their show. So I appreciate the shout out. I appreciate it.
Oh, for sure. I've been following your platform for a while, and I just feel like you're doing amazing work because you're actually talking about the things that people are afraid to talk about.
Yes, that is one of the things that I set on in my mission, was that not everybody's going to understand that when we're talking women's health, we're talking about women's health, not how women interact with men, not how women interact with each other on a daily basis. What makes us women, and what do we deal with?
For sure.
That's the message that I want to send to you.
I'm getting excited. So before I jump into the questions, I'm going to have you introduce yourself to the audience and tell us what you do.
Well, my name is Steffes. I am a podcaster. I am a manager of the radio station KZ Productions. I am a lead compliance analyst. That's actually my real 9-to-5 job. I promote all things that women need in their lives, which is self-love, self-reliance, self-control, and accountability.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. What inspired you to start your platform and be vulnerable about your experiences?
Well, it actually all started because I was in an extremely narcissistic relationship. When I say extremely narcissistic, both my ex-husband and my ex-boyfriend were addicts. So I dealt with a husband who was addicted to crack, and my ex-boyfriend was addicted to alcohol. And that pretty much brought out the demon in them, and it surfaced throughout our relationships. And I decided after that I was done with addiction. I was done enabling anybody that can't pick themselves up and lift themselves from their circumstances.
Sure, for sure. Now I want to go back to something that you said earlier. You talked about being in two narcissistic relationships. So I want to make sure we really talk about what narcissism is, because I think nowadays it's the popular buzzword, and you see so many people like online throwing, oh, this is a narcissist, this is narcissism.
Oh, and everybody, just because they disagree.
Right, you're a narcissist.
Yeah.
Like, what?
No, that's not it.
Right.
What I experienced from narcissism was isolation, and not just isolation, but a sense of self-love that you can't even be accountable for whatever it is. You're in denial of your actions, of how you impact people. The only thing that wraps around you is how people react to you, at you. What I was experiencing is, even if we were having a conversation and I disagreed, now I'm stupid because I disagreed. Or what I like is not of any interest to them, so it's dumb. Why do you like that crap, you know? Or, oh my God, I can't believe you listened to that song, because it's not impacting them. It doesn't revolve around them. So I had a friend that used the, Webster Dictionary definition of narcissism, which is self-love. No, it is not self-love. It is a form of self-love that is tainted and twisted around to look like self-love, but it's self-involvement. That's all that matters to that person, is who loves them, who makes them feel good, who makes them feel comfortable in their world. And if there's ever a moment that they don't feel comfortable, it's your fault, because you're not doing enough to make them feel comfortable. So what I experienced was a child in the form of an adult that acted more immature than my children, because of the fact that they were so self-involved that's what we expect out of infants.
Right.
They never evolve out of that.
Mm-hmm.
What I have found with narcissism is it's caused by a trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody does something to them one time, maybe 2 times, and they learn their lesson from whatever it was and they get burned.
Mm-hmm.
That will never happen again.
Got you.
So that is why narcissistic men keep women at arm's length, because somebody hurt them in a way they couldn't no longer, they lost their power.
Got you.
So once they lose their power, now they're weak.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm never going to let anyone let me feel weak again.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's looking for the warning signs of narcissism, because it is a mental health issue.
For sure.
Something broke inside your brain that made you think that you're the only one that matters.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't, you can be telling somebody till they're blue in the face that the sky is blue, but if they believe that it's green, it's green.
Right.
And they will fight you to the death on it.
Mm-hmm.
And something as silly as that. I mean, some of the arguments I used to get into with my alcoholic boyfriend, I wouldn't even expect an elementary school fight like that. I mean, it was just silly.
For sure.
We're fighting over whether or not he got mad at me because I wouldn't buy him a pack of cigarettes. I don't smoke, so I don't, encourage smoking.
Right.
So why am I going to spend my money on your habit?
Mm-hmm.
Which was what I ended up doing. I ended up spending all my money on what his wants were.
Right.
Never taking into account that I had children living in my house, that I had to take care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we didn't worry about those things. All that was important was his needs.
Right.
So I think it's important when women are interacting with men or men are interacting with women, because yes, there are female narcissists.
Oh, yeah, I was getting ready to go there.
There are female narcissists.
Mm-hmm.
What you need to look for is when you're telling them about yourself, are they engaged? If they're not, and they turn the conversation to themselves and they want to talk about themselves, and they do that every single time and they cut you off at the pass, that's a red flag.
For sure. For sure. Now, you mentioned earlier about like warning signs. So can you talk to us in general about the early signs of abuse, toxic behavior, narcissism? What to kind of look for?
The first time you excuse bad behavior. The first time that you brush off a disrespect and laugh off, somebody making fun of you.
For sure.
One thing that I did not have accustomed, and that's why I fight so hard for women now, is I was made fun of as a kid. I had low self-esteem. So that's why I promote self-love so hard, because if you have self-love, that's your armor, that's your weapon against people like that. If you have low self-esteem, they come in being all that you want them to be. What's hard for them is when they start being unable to sustain it.
For sure.
That's a huge warning sign when you start asking questions like, how come we never go to the movies anymore? How come we never go da-da-da-da-da? How come we never do this anymore? How come you never buy me dinner anymore? Those are signs that he's just reached or she's just reached her level.
Right.
And they believe they have you. That they have you under their illusion. And that at this point you're willing to do anything to get that back.
Right, for sure.
And that's what you chase. As the addicts say in the world, you chase the dragon.
Right.
You chase that love that you had in the beginning. And you spent, it's like a piece of shit car. How much do you invest before you just go, you know what? A newer car would be better.
Right.
A newer life would be better.
Sure.
And I said, finally, I would rather be alone for the rest of my life than ever feel like that again. That's what determined the factor of me is I started self-healing, or self-therapy as I put it, a year before I broke up with him. I usually waited till he passed out,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would talk to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I would ask myself those questions.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we put up with that?
Right.
Why is it that we're okay with him saying that?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we let him get us angry?
Right.
You know, those are questions that you have to ask yourself. Why do you not love yourself enough to say no
Mm-hmm.
to it? You know, and it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
People think that that's easy to say.
Right.
But when they're telling you everything you want to hear,
Yep.
and they're promising you
Mm-hmm.
everything that you've wanted in a partner, in a mate, and they promise that next time it won't be like this. I'm gonna make it right. I'm gonna fix this. It's gonna be better. Everything's gonna be all right. And then they give you 2 weeks,
Right.
and then we're back where we were because it's not sustainable.
For sure.
You know, that's usually a warning sign, is when you start compromising your principles
Mm-hmm.
to accommodate them.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you know you're on a slippery slope. I thought after my ex-husband and being married to that for 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
I'd spot him.
Yeah.
I thought I would spot it, all the signs. And I excused them away. I made them like, oh, I can understand why, you know, he would do this, or I can understand why he feels that way, and putting myself in their shoes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's never reciprocated. That's the sign. When they can't understand what you're going through, that's a sign.
For sure. Would you say a big piece of that is love bombing? In the beginning,
Yes. They want to exhaust you out,
Mm-hmm.
overwhelm you.
Mm-hmm.
Another one that I've experienced kind of tied in to the love bombing is well, you never have any time for me.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
You're always busy. And I told my one friend, a lot of time I'm busy. I'm either working or I'm spending time with me,
Mm-hmm.
because I spent 25 years with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave everybody 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to take a little piece for myself, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's really where it kind of goes.
For sure. And then also you mentioned that a lot of times the behavior is gradual. So it starts off like, it's not like someone comes in initially and just shows all of their bad
Yeah.
characteristics, right?
It definitely doesn't. It's very subtle.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, you will find yourself getting exhausted arguing about nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the first things out of my ex-boyfriend's mouth is, I don't do dishes.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to that? You
Right.
know? Yes, you're going to do dishes. You're a grown-up.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to make you do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So then you start compromising that. Then
For
all
sure.
of a sudden, you're doing it. And then you're handing that off because now you're taking more responsibilities from him. And you're giving, what I would do is I would give my responsibilities to my kids
Mm-hmm.
and take his responsibilities.
Mhm.
Well, that's how backwards everything becomes,
Mm-hmm.
is you want to relieve them of their stress, not realizing that your stress is twice as hard because you're carrying their load too. And that's where we start getting beaten down mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's hard to leave. It's not that we don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that we're tired of it, because we're exhausted. We're so over the relationship when that starts happening.
Mhm.
It's not even funny. But the problem is,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have the fight in you because he's taken it from you.
For sure.
You're exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
You got to fight to get out. No, I can't. I don't have any more in me. I'm done. I'm burnt out. So it's when people say things to women, it really takes it, you know, I really get upset with people about that, because it really is hard
Right.
when somebody promises that they do love you, that they will change and they will do for the better, and they keep doing that vicious cycle. It's insanity.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get out of that loop until you finally have self-love enough to pick yourself up and move on.
For sure. And one of the things that I think that is really a struggle is when you have the people that are like, why didn't you just leave? It's so easy, and feeling like you're already in a situation where you're battling this person. Now you're battling the outside opinions of everybody.
Well, and the hard part too is a lot of people walked away from me.
Really?
Yeah. There was, and I didn't find out the extent until I broke up with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I had those hard conversations. It's almost like doing a 12-step, you know.
Right.
When you come back into the world, it's kind of like you have to go and apologize for, you know, not nurturing that friendship. But you also have to let them know, hey, I'm better now. I do want a relationship with you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it does get insane to battle your way out.
For sure. Now, thinking about when you were in those relationships, do you feel like you had a support system from friends and family, or do you feel like people kind of steered clear?
No, everybody watched.
Really?
Yes, everybody watched that shit show go down. Yep. Everybody, nobody stepped in. In fact, that was my rude awakening, as I say. I actually I had a breakdown. I was so afraid to stay at the house. We had that big of a fight. So I got in my car, I went and picked up my daughter, and I went out to go see one of my brothers, my wrestling brothers. I have a lot of them, but he's my big brother. Mm-hmm. And I immediately, as soon as I saw him, broke down. Mm-hmm. And he pulled me aside and he hugged me really tight and he told me, you know, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And I realized I came to you to save me. Mm-hmm. Go talk to him. Please, somebody do something. And that was his response. And it woke me up to realize nobody's going to save me. Mm-hmm. They support me in getting out of it, and they'll be here on the other side of it. But I have to do it because I got into it, and I have to get myself out of it.
How do you feel like people could have been more supportive to you during that time?
Well, one of the things that my mother and I have talked about is before I got married, because I got married at 20, one of the things that we've talked about is her and my dad both agreed it was a horrible, horrible decision for me to marry him, but nobody said anything. And I told her, why didn't you say something? And she said, because you would have ended up with him anyways, because you would have fought me to be with him. But to that, I say to women that are dealing with something like that, where they could have had the shoulda, woulda, couldas, and it really goes like this. Yes, you could have, if we would have had a better relationship. If I would have had a better relationship with my mother, a closer relationship with my mother, and she told me, hey, he's bad for you. I know you. I know what you're going to do. I know what's going to happen to you. I don't want you to walk through this. That is an easier approach than somebody that's been your friend for your whole life and going, ditch the dude, you know? He's bad news because you don't see the bad news.
Right.
You can't see it, and you can't trust that other people see it. So the best thing to do, like what I've done for my daughter, is no, I don't agree with her relationship. However, I can't talk you in or out of it. I can only speak to you. I want you to be true to you. I want you to make decisions that are good for you. I want you to love you. And all those things, if somebody would have told me that and taken me by the hand and showed me what self-love looked like, it would have helped so much. That's what we need to do for each other, is we got to stop saying it's somebody else's job, or it's a therapist's job, or it's a psychologist's job, or it's a pharmaceutical's job. No, it's not. It's every woman that has, excuse my French, has a vagina to help another woman with a vagina.
Right.
We are not enemies. We have spent our whole lives, our whole history, battling everybody else. Back then, the suffragettes stuck together. if one went down, they all went down. You know, we didn't run from the problem. We were the problem.
Right.
You know, we wanted to solve this issue together. That's what I'm trying to bring back.
For sure, for sure. You know, I think about bad experiences that I've had, and one of the toughest things for me was when I was vulnerable with people, getting this thing, you're so dumb, you're stupid, why would you do that? And it made me feel like I had to almost hide what I was going through.
And I did that too. I do that a lot because people do judge you.
Right.
And I've already assessed that judgment, and I'd rather not.
Right.
I'd rather not
have
that conversation, so I'll just keep that nugget to myself. And I think that's why we end up the farther along in our healing journey that we get. We find ourselves not alone, not isolated, but in our protective bubble.
Right.
You know, it's not that I don't want to go out and be around other people. It's that I know my limitations with that.
Right.
I know I can go out once or twice a week, but I know how much time that's going to cost me to recover from.
For sure.
So that's why I tell people I can't book my week from Monday to Friday and have just 2 days off. That's not enough time for me. That's a lot of energy to get through just my 9 to 5, let alone friends and family. So if you do spend a lot of time being around a lot of energies, that's why you're expending yours.
Right.
Because you're trying to match your environment when that's not necessary. You just need to be present. That's it. Nobody gets to have your energy. Nobody gets to take it from you. You get to divvy it out in however you want to. But you have to learn self-control with it.
Right.
And every mistake is that lesson. Okay, I was with Susie Sunshine way too long today. So maybe next time I cut it back a little bit because, Lord, does she talk, you know? So that's really what it is the first step is self-love, identifying those parts of you, and really the hardest part of self-love is facing yourself, looking in the mirror and saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for those decisions I made. I'm sorry that it destroyed us for so many years and we spent so much time recovering from it. I want to do better for us. I want to do better for our path, what we're supposed to be doing. That's how you get self-love, is the scary part of apologizing genuinely for your mistakes to yourself.
For sure. And I think a big piece of that too is also forgiving yourself, because I know a lot of times for me, I tend to live in the past and I'm like, oh, I remember when I did this and then that happened, so now I don't want to do that anymore.
Yes. So one of the things I learned with my youngest daughter is I saw myself through her experience, some of the things that she was saying. And what I learned is that you can only hold yourself accountable for what you knew at the time. If you knew better, then yes, you need to work on that. If you were hurt in some way or you made a decision that went sideways, you didn't know until you knew.
Right.
So if you didn't know until you knew, your you now can't punish you then.
Right.
Because now you know, you didn't then. So I think it's more or less forgiving yourself for trusting that person when you should have seen the signs, or being accountable to not excusing away disrespect. You know, a lot of times women, especially assertive women, get accused of being bitches. And that's simply because, no, I'm not going to accept whatever garbage you're throwing at me. And I'm trying to be as respectful about it as possible because I could, but I'm not willing to.
Right.
You know, so that's why it's also important that when you get on the social media and you get those, you know, keyboard ninjas. You do a time out to yourself. Where is this going? Because it becomes a time-consuming thing
And
that you
sure.
get sucked into
For sure.
if you're not in control of yourself. So I think it's more, and that's where when I did my show in 2023, I did an accountability show.
Yeah.
And I got so much crap from my male friends because what does a woman know about accountability? There's not a woman in this world that can be accountable. So when they actually watched my show, they found out that the only accountability we are responsible for is self-accountability. I am not accountable to you men to be a woman for you. I'm not a woman by your definition.
For sure.
I'm a woman by how I was created. So it's more about telling yourself no. Or when we're talking, next month we're talking, or this month, I'm supposed to be doing my podcast, but this month we're supposed to be talking about letting your no's be no. And that's not just on a sexual basis. That's on a, if you know that bowl of ice cream is going to make you feel bloated in the morning, at midnight, should you really be eating it? No. Maybe dial it back till about 7 or 8 o'clock if you want something to eat, and holding yourself to that because you know what you're going to have to deal with. And as I said, make the situation, think about the situation. Are you willing to deal with the consequences?
For sure.
If you are, go ahead, to each his own, But if you don't, if you're going to whine and cry and about what happened because you made this decision, maybe you need to take a look at your self-accountability a little bit more.
For sure, and I think you dropped so many gems. One thing I'm learning is no is a complete sentence. Like, I don't have to explain why it's no, it's just no.
That's a hard one, though. That is a hard one, not to explain yourself. That was one of the hardest things. And I do it from time to time, but I do it in a controlled way. Like, I will share this information with you, this much of it.
Right.
So that you're informed of what I'm doing because you need to be informed. But I'm not just spreading the tea just because you want to know,
Right, exactly. The other piece you said, and this is big for me, is self-discipline and accountability. Understanding that if I want certain results, I have to do certain things. And if I don't do the things, I can't be mad when the things don't happen.
Yes, and that's part of it too, is you can't just watch people sit on the sidelines and gripe and complain about you're standing still. You're not moving.
Right.
You're not, and even doing, like, for instance, all I've been doing lately is trying to get our radio station up and running. So all I've been doing is putting together playlists. I'm not going anywhere. Oh my God, there's so many playlists and that's all I'm doing. But it's getting there, so again with the patience, it will get there when it's supposed to get there. And that's something that I keep having to remind myself because I lack patience too, and when I go, oh my God, I got to remember, I do have to remember that what is meant to be for today is what will happen today. I don't need to control it. The birds are going to fly whether or not I see them,
Right.
It's not, that's where you're full of yourself. If you think the world is not going to turn because you took a time out, and that's important too. That is something I can't stress enough with our health, is taking the time out. Even if you take a power nap, that's at least time to yourself you didn't have before. So if you take that half an hour on your lunch, it's all about doing yourself right. That's really what it is about.
For sure. And it goes back to, like you were saying, self-love, because what's that statement? A lot of times we accept the love that we think that we deserve. So when we don't have that self-love, we allow friends to treat us poorly. We allow romantic partners to treat us poorly. We allow family to treat us poorly.
And that is something that's where our assertiveness comes from, is we get tired.
Right.
I get tired of people disrespecting me. Why can you not see that you're disrespecting me?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not telling you you're disrespecting me. I'm just expecting you to know.
Right.
You know, how do you know? Just because in my head it's a common sense doesn't mean it's in your head that way.
Mm-hmm.
So if I never tell you, hey, that's not okay, you'll never know.
Right.
And we'll just sit here repeating the cycle of expecting, with our expectations of people acting right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also where I give space to people
Mm-hmm.
when you have asserted that boundary and you have asserted your I'm not okay with your behavior towards me, and then they do it again.
Right.
And I got to a point where, why do I keep having to tell them to stop doing that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, why am I doing that?
Mm-hmm.
I should not have to continuously tell them about their bad behavior. They are grown enough to know.
For sure.
So that is where I have to shut up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to instruct you how to treat me.
Right.
You know, I will just give a space
Mm-hmm.
so you can reflect, if you're meant to reflect on that, how you're acting.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people have changed how they talk at me and talk to me. You know, one of the things of my biggest pet peeve is I hate being talked at.
Yeah.
Don't assume I don't know, you know.
Right.
You know, and people are surprised that women are intelligent. I mean, it's weird, but we are.
Right.
You know, I do grasp most concepts on a simplistic level. I do get it, and I think that's really what it is for women. Is we expect people to respect us because we're women, and that's not it.
Right.
I'm the only thing you are required to do is respect me as a human.
Right.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would like you to respect me as a woman because I do a lot as a woman, but that's not where it's at. I just want to be a person to you.
Right.
And that's at a minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Anything less than that, we can't talk.
Right.
We don't have nothing to talk about.
And that's where, like you said, boundaries come in because we teach people how to treat us. And so the moment someone does something sideways, you got to be like, hey, and it don't even have to be popping off or getting an attitude. Just like, hey, that's actually not okay with me. Please don't do that again.
Right, and sometimes we don't realize, and I say this because I don't know what kind of audience you have, but interacting with each other in our races, too. You know, I'm assuming this about you.
Right.
Well, that's not true because you live somewhere doesn't mean that you're more or less.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's what you do. It's called integrity. You know, you have character. You have dignity. You know, these are characteristics we look for in a good human.
Right.
You know, so it doesn't matter if you don't have hot water.
Right.
Or, you know, your stove range is broke, or you have one of those fancy ones in the wall that we see on the House Network stuff, you know. It doesn't matter where you come from.
Right.
Because what matters at the end of the day is, are you a good human?
Right.
That's all that, when it's all said and done, did you do right by yourself? And in doing so, did you spread that to other people?
Right.
And that's all. I stopped, my number one was the golden rule. Kind of changed it up a little bit because I look at it not as I want to treat others how I want them to treat me, but I treat others how they treat me.
Right.
So if you're getting all upset and in your feelings about the bitch I am, maybe you need to look at how you're treating me, you know? Because I'm only going to react how you're treating me. So I have no fight, no qualms with anybody.
Right.
I just interact with you how you interact with me, and we exchange energies that way. And if you're not copacetic with me, I'm not copacetic with you. Okay? That's just how it's going to work, you know? And I have found that in a lot of ways, men don't know what to do with that. They're expecting you to be at arms. They're expecting you to be, you know, in your feelings, emotional. And I've had a lot of times with my male friends where I've had to state, I'm not being emotional. This is how I feel.
Right.
I'm telling you how I feel, and you're getting all upset because of how I feel?
Right.
That's weird. That's weird. Why are you getting upset about how I feel, you know? So, I mean, it really is a matter of putting that back on them.
Mm-hmm.
That was a hard thing for me, is not absorbing that anymore. That is not mine to own.
Right.
You know, if you're acting like a shitty human, it is not my job to tell you you're a shitty human. You should already know that.
Right.
And if you're not going to do anything about that, we can't interchange.
Right. I'm going to remove myself from the
And
situation.
it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter age, race, size, color, it doesn't matter any. If you're going to be a shitty human,
right,
we're not going to interact.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that simple. And what I'm learning now is not engaging.
Right.
That one's a difficult
That's
one.
a hard one for me.
That one's hard. Because I don't have to. That's how I keep telling myself, let them be a shitty human. Let people see that. You don't need to respond to that. Stop.
I'm working on it, y'all.
Me too.
What do you think is important for people to know about your experiences, or what you want people to take away from your experiences that you share?
Authenticity.
Yep.
I never want to present myself as anything other than myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I want my words to not be hypocritical. So if I say it, I'll do it.
For sure.
I don't have to like it, but I do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I tell my boss too, is I might whine and complain and kick, but I'm still gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning that I'm allowed to feel what I feel.
Yeah.
And then get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to stay on it. I just need to feel it, acknowledge that I feel it, even cry if I have to get it out,
Mm-hmm.
and then move on. And it's not as easy as it sounds. I don't want to make it seem like I'm 3 years in and I'm into my hard lessons. So what I'm talking about is, I don't talk about the lessons I'm really learning now, but what I've learned, because it's easier to explain the journey of struggle when you've gotten past the struggle, rather than, and people are like, well, you should tell us what, no, you don't understand. It's messy. It's messy in here when I'm working through something and I'm working on strengthening my boundaries, because I want every person that I interact with to not only feel respected,
Right.
but I want to be respected as well. And a lot of times in a lot of communities, I come off as like the Susie homemaker. I'm just the wifey, and I'm not. I'm far from it anymore. I know those skills. Those skills are, in my soul, but that's not me. I am not the sit at home and, wait on my man and cook him dinner and stuff. We'll cook together. I'll cook for you. We'll enjoy a meal together, but you're also hustling for me too. You're doing stuff for us. That's what I was looking for in a partner, and that's why I'm still 3 years waiting, because that's what I want in a partner. Is I want him to, as I say, know how to deal with his shit.
Right.
Know how to own his shit, know how to handle his shit. I'm dealing with my shit, I'm handling my shit, I'm going through my shit, and then we got our shit together.
Right.
And we know how to communicate that shit together. I'm not trying to come at you with something, and you're not trying to come at me with something. We're trying to figure out how to get over past this so we can move on.
Right.
Because it's obviously something that's wrong.
Right.
So I think it's so important that we all slow down. I think that is number one key. I think the dating world right now needs to take a breather.
For sure.
I think we all need to go to a separate corner. There's too much situationships and hookups, and I don't even know the definitions anymore. They're all blurred.
Right.
I thought I was in a situationship, but apparently we're just a hookup. Like, what? Did we discuss that?
You got a dating world right now.
I'm scared. I'm scared of that side of the pool. I don't know. I'm just going to wade around in that, what is that, the lazy?
Oh, the lazy
river?
Right.
Yeah, I'm just going to go around that circle. Stay away from those water slides. They're too wild.
But I think you raised a lot of good points with relationships in general, is making sure that they aren't one-sided. And that's not even just with romantic relationships, that's with friends in general. Because if you're always in the relationship and you're doing, and accommodating, and the person just kind of like, well, we'll see what happens.
Right.
It's like, that's the strain.
Well, and you need to, and that's the thing is also weigh your friendships. How much are you willing to invest in that friendship? You're getting so upset over this relationship, but how invested are you, and are they just as invested?
That part.
And the hard part is getting the strength to cut, no matter how long it's been,
right?
No matter how soon it's been, it should never matter the length of time you've known someone.
For sure.
Once they expose shitty behavior and they're unwilling to correct it, you know, I tell people a lot of my pain comes from seeing people for who they really are. Right. Now that I've taken the blinders off and I take people at their word and what they're saying to me, and I don't, you know, romanticize things, and, you know, I don't, oh, well, maybe they meant this, and then get upset because I thought you meant this.
Right.
You know, taking people at face value. What are they showing you? That's what I accept. For sure. Is if you're not that person, then don't show me that. You know, if you're this other person, then show me that, you know. And truly, nobody has a date on a couch in front of Netflix. Ever. You know, I have never met a person that said, yeah, we had pizza and we watched a movie and then I went home. I have never taken somebody through that. So a couch is never a date.
It's not going.
Never a date. Never do that.
We're going to have to do another show.
And that's the other part is I want to be real with people.
For sure.
Life sucks.
Yeah.
Life sucks, and we're all going through something.
Right.
That's something that people, I keep hearing people go, well, he never took this into consideration, or he doesn't care about what I'm going through. But did you ever take the time to care about what he's going through?
For sure.
You know, did you guys sit down and have that conversation where he shared a little and you shared a little? Or was it always one-sided where you were asking him all about his history, and trying to learn him so that you could be a better woman for him? And that is the problem.
Right.
You're trying to be somebody for him. You're trying to be somebody for her. Why? Be somebody for you.
That part.
That's the, you know, you should be who you needed back when you were getting traumatized. That's who you need to be. You know, because that's what I want to be for other people. I always say, you know, the reason why I love so hard is because I've never known love. You know, that's part of it. It sounds sad, but I don't count it as a weakness. I have the ability to love hard after everything I've been through and the torture of my brain that has been shattered into a million pieces, and I still can love hard. Yeah. You know, so I don't see that as a weakness. I see that as a strength, that I can get through hell and come back and be willing to reach for heaven.
Right, and that's so amazing that you're still open for love and still like like positive about it, because we live in a world where it's so much negativity around relationships and love. So that's amazing.
Yes, I do agree. I think everyone should just embrace that about themselves, that if you love hard, love hard.
Right.
Just pick who you love hard for.
That part.
Be picky, be choosy, and not for everybody.
Well, Jessica, it's been absolutely
Oh,
amazing. I know, right? It
Oh,
flew by. But we definitely gonna have to get another show on the boat.
absolutely, I'd love to come back.
For sure. It's been amazing having you on. So how can we support you and tap into your platform?
Well, I am on Facebook and I'm on Instagram, even though I'm not on Instagram. I don't know how it works. I even say that on my show. I have no idea how Instagram works. So I'm on Facebook. I have my own personal page, Jessica Steffes. I also have my Women's Health Summit. That is also on Facebook. And Summit.Women's Health, I believe. That's my Instagram.
Well, thank you again. This has been amazing, and I just can't wait to continue to work with you in the future.
I absolutely, and I'm going to have you on my show.
Oh, for sure.
I got to hear your story, for real.
For sure, because I definitely got one. All right, well, thank you all for tuning in. It's just been such a pleasure, and stay tuned for more episodes.